Hey everybody, it's Eduardo Jackson, creator, founder, CEO of the Cinema Draft Game. Welcome back. This is going to be somewhat of a micropod. It's going to go over some quick movie reviews of movies I've seen recently, as well as address the call sheets that have been submitted for this weekend, and seeing how those two may tie together as far as the quality of movies with their box office performance, and also kind of take a glance towards the weekend ahead and offer, see if we can predict the future. It's going to be me solo today on this rainy day in the Las Vegas Valley. And just wanted to go over a few movies that I've seen. So the most recent movie I've seen last night after Theater Lock was Triple X. And my God, or the Triple X sequel, Return of Xander Cage. And that movie is terrible. Now obviously we don't have high standards for a movie like this. I mean, it's not, you're not going there to see, Fences or whatever. And the original Triple X I thoroughly enjoyed. I enjoyed the hell out of that movie. It was fun. Irreverent is kind of like, James Bond meets extreme sports, which is kind of the way they pitch it. Rob Cohen was the creator and the director of that whole thing, and it was a great time. This movie is just a hot mess. It's, as much as as little as scripts matter in movies like this, the script was terrible. It's going to suffer when it comes to word of mouth because I can't imagine anyone, seriously recommending it. It's just bad. It's just bad all around. So it just is what it is. I was a little disappointed. I will say this though, as I did see it in D-Box, which is an exciting format for viewing action movies. Basically, it's where they have the movie seat you're sitting in synced to the action so that it shifts and moves to the action. So like if there's an explosion, you feel like a rumble in your seat. If you're in a plane and the plane banks to the left, your seat kind of banks to the left itself. It's really, really fun way to watch movies. So this is kind of the ultimate D-Box movie, but I mean, it really has nothing else going for it. I mean, like I said, scripts really don't matter that much in formats like these, but even for a format like this, the script is just abysmal. Oh my God, it's just wooden performance after wooden performance. No one seems to be enjoying themselves really, except of course, Samuel L. Jackson. That guy has a good time wherever he goes. So that was truly a terrible movie. Sad to say. And I did see a couple movies back to back today. The first one, and these are a contrast in styles to an extent. And when I say contrast in styles, I mean so I saw Sleepless and Patriots Day back to back. Now Sleepless. Now that when I say these are, while they're contrasting styles, it was basically following the same theme, and this is using the city it's located in as a secondary character, as like a secondary lead. And I kind of tend to like movies like that where the city becomes like a rich character adding to the backdrop of whatever's going on. And in Sleepless, this was filmed in Vegas. It very famously is flaunting a lot of Vegas, a lot of Vegas locales and locations. I believe, and we mentioned this in the earlier podcast with Jay Devlin, I believe that there's like some sort of tax credit that got re-upped or passed or strengthened by the Nevada legislature to bring more films to Nevada. So this is, I mean, I can't imagine any other reason why this movie exists to exploit that tax credit. It's all over Vegas. And they paint Vegas, like most people think of Vegas as, to an extent, as this kind of seamy city. Sin City is its promoted nickname or whatever, and Vegas revels in it. Vegas is Chamber of Commerce with probably one of the top 10, if not top 5 marketing slogans of all time. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I can't remember if that was originated by the Chamber of Commerce, but it's definitely been promoted heavily by the Chamber of Commerce. And so it's always interesting when people try to take on Vegas as a city, because the Vegas that they promote tends to be organized, largely on the Strip or downtown Fremont Street. And, the glitzier. Well, the Strip is obviously the glitzy things where you have like all your big casinos, the Wynn properties, City Center, whatever. This one is kind of a combination of action, thriller, whatever, this is a combination of like a dirty cop story set inside of a casino. So it's kind of like Die Hard meets Dirty Cops, whatever. And that part is kind of interesting. Figuring out all the ways they can use a casino, and casinos are mini cities at this point. If you haven't been to a Vegas casino, I highly recommend it. Yeah, I guess my top five, in descending order: the Cosmo, the Aria, the Wynn, the Bellagio, and maybe, I don't know, Caesars. Mandalay Bay is pretty good. I don't know. That's probably like my top five hotel stays. The Cosmo is just the top. I mean, that's I won't derail this podcast, but I love the Cosmo. I'd love to live in there for like a year just to say that I did. But Sleepless is basically like Die Hard inside of a casino, which is interesting. It's an interesting conceit. Written by Andrea Berloff. She was one of the writers behind Straight Outta Compton, which is interesting. I actually read the script of Straight Outta Compton before while I was in production, whatever. And it was okay. I think the direction and the performance really took that one to the top. But that's either here nor there. This is a fairly generic cop movie, Sleepless. It's very predictable. You could see these things sticking out like a mile away, but I do like the aspect of it being kind of like Die Hard in a casino with all the different levels and varying ecosystems that exist inside of a big Vegas casino. This one, they call it the Luxus, and they have cleverly, in my estimation as a Vegas local, they have cleverly fictionally built the Luxus in the middle of city center on the site of what should have been uh, another hotel. I can't remember what the name was going to be, but I think they call it the Harmon. There was a hotel which was, I think, like a third of the way or halfway through production, whatever, and they had to end up scrapping it. It sat as like a rusty or empty hulk on the strip in the city center. City Center is this organization about 5 or 6 different hotels and casinos: the Aria, the Cosmo, the Mandarin Oriental, and the Veer. And the Harmon was, I believe, the 5th of the city center hotels or casinos, condos that never got finished because they famously had structural defects. Like they got like a third or halfway done with this project, had structural defects. They couldn't, finish it, so they eventually had to demolish it. So there's like kind of like this gaping hole in the city center, which actually you can't really quite see. It's shielded pretty well by the Cosmo and the Aria and the other hotels, but there's a hole where a hotel is supposed to be, and so they built fictionally this Luxus in the middle of on the spot where the Harmon should have been. So I thought that was pretty, clever, I guess, geography / topography by the filmmakers. But otherwise, it's not terrible. I'd give this 2 reels out of 4 in my infamous The Real Deal 4-reel rating system. We don't do halves, no half reels. So I give this 2 out of 4. It's not terrible. Triple X, The Return of Xander Cage, that's a terrible movie. That gets 1 reel, and it only gets the 1 reel because it is very D-Box friendly. This gets 2 reels. I mean, it had its moments, but it's thoroughly, utterly predictable. Michelle Monaghan actually has some fire to her performance. And Jamie Foxx is all right. I mean, he does this thing. He, like we opined in a previous podcast, Jay Devlin and I, this is probably one of his last hurrahs before hitting 50, and he still has like the somewhat physique to kind of carry off an action film like this. Because actually, I will say this. Actually, then let me not give this short shrift. It has really good stage combat sequences. Few people know I actually have a drama degree from Spelman. Took all my class. From a drama degree from Morehouse College, but took all my drama class at Spelman, and also I did 1 year in the professional actors program at DePaul Theater School MFA program, and I took a stage combat class, and that was really, really interesting and fun. And so I kind of look at these things through a different lens when it comes to like fight scenes, because it's all choreography. It's very, they're very well rehearsed dances, and when I see like really good, fight choreography, I like to point it out. So Sleepless has really good fight choreography, fairly inventive, very physical, very kind of makes you, cringe in your seat a little bit. And I kind of wish this movie had been set to D-Box, because this would have been a really good D-Box movie for fight sequences. So I saw Sleepless, and then I followed that up with Patriots Day. That's the one taking on the Boston, marathon bombing. Like, what, 3 years, less than 4 years, whatever, after it happened. So some people might scream too soon. This is done by Peter Berg. Peter Berg teaming up again with Mark Wahlberg. And one thing we have learned is we do not doubt Peter Berg, or especially when teams with Mark Wahlberg, because they also delivered to us late last year, Deepwater Horizon, which I also thought was a little too soon, and I wasn't. I was going into it with really low expectations, and I came out of there damn near crying. Peter Berg, this is kind of like his brand, his hallmark, taking recent real life events, dramatizing them effectively and making you give a damn. And he delivers again in this. This is for all intents and purposes, this is a really good, if not excellent, movie that I have no desire to watch again, because it's a tough hang. It is a tough watch. With the horrors of the bombing, they do a really good job of humanizing a lot of the key players leading up to it and afterwards. They do have a really interesting part with the afterwards, where Kevin Bacon's character comes in as Rick Delorier. He's the FBI agent in charge after the bombing happened, and he brings in this whole other kind of side to the investigation, which we don't really have gotten to see as the general public, where they take over like a warehouse, on the pier or something, and just basically have like a huge, command center to track down this to track down these fugitives, and then you see, then it gets into a really interesting drama of like interagency cooperation or non-cooperation, and Mark Wahlberg's character is a composite of several people who actually did work on the case. As he's composited into a Boston cop who's kind of at the center of it all, who's relentlessly hunting down these the I would say fugitives, the bombers. One was really a kid. He was like, I think, a 19-year-old. He was a 19-year-old student, and then his older brother, who really was like the driving force behind it, who ultimately was killed just in a ridiculous gun battle. I mean, obviously they're gonna over dramatize some of the gun battles, whatever. But I do remember hearing about it. It did go down. I mean, they were prepared for war. It's pretty bad. I think the part I liked most about it was the Chinese immigrant who had started an app. His English wasn't great, but he was carjacked by the Tsarnaev brothers. Those were the bombers, and it was really interesting seeing his story leading up to the carjacking, and then what finally it was that made him run. And he basically was like, "Fuck these guys, get these guys, damn if they're gonna take my truck and kill me," because he worked really hard for this truck. He was very proud of this truck that he bought with the money that he earned from creating this food delivery app. And he was a very cool, compelling character. I mean, it's a good movie. I can't say it's an enjoyable movie. It's just a tough watch. I have zero desire to ever see it again, but it is good to experience at least once. And going back to the original theme of these reviews, is that this also really heavily relies upon a city being a character. Because I mean, to outsiders, we've heard stories how Boston is just they talk like this, and the Red Sox, and go to the car, and fuck you, and all sorts of stuff. But I mean, as shepherded by a Boston native, Mark Wahlberg. I mean, it seems to be that is truly the attitude of that town. They're very much about. I mean, well, fuck is like just like another, it's just like another word in their vocabulary, that the one they all go to. They're very much proud to be from Boston, Massachusetts, and they stand their ground. And then it seems like the city's character as a whole is just kind of tough nosed and ready to help and willing to protect its own. And so this seemed more apropos of a movie as far as relaying the character of a city as an additional character in the movie. Like this one felt more authentic than, say, the one in Sleepless. Whereas Sleepless, I did concentrate on the Strip and kind of the seamy side of Vegas, and there was a seamy side. They really didn't. I mean, as much as or as little as the city does have a cohesive culture or what have you. Like I can't say, having lived here off and on for 5 years, I can't say I've discovered or even really figured out what the collective sense of the city of Las Vegas is. But I will tell you this: once you get outside the Strip, I mean, it might as well be Marietta, Georgia, just like any other kind of small town or suburbanish type town where where things close at 10 and midnight. It's not up all night. It's just the Strip and parts of downtown that are 24/7 and very visitor friendly. The actual city of Las Vegas is just fairly normal. I mean, fairly boring and normal, with the exception of a very booming uh, strip club, escort, sugar daddy, baby business. But that's neither here nor there. Anyways, I really feel like Patriots Day, as an outsider, I've only been to Boston once or twice. I think only once, really. As an outsider, it really seems like this movie captures the spirit and the ethos of Boston, and so I'm a little surprised it hasn't done as well as I thought it would. Patriots Day did. It's kind of a crowded marketplace, but it's worth your while. It's worth seeing. And it'll probably be one of those movies that'll kind of like Deepwater Horizon did, where I believe it stayed in the top 10 for about 8 to 10 weeks. It'll probably stay in the top 10 for a while as people slowly discover this movie. It's a really good movie. It's just a tough hang. Okay, so those are the movies that I've seen recently. Oh, and also Jackie. I'm just gonna skip over Jackie. Jackie was just a little too, I would say, self-important, but I didn't love the movie. Like it has all the hallmarks, which should be a really good movie. It's got a really strong central performance by Natalie Portman, of course. It just doesn't deliver the way it. I mean, the movie overall is just drowned under a soundtrack, under a musical score, which is just not as good as it thinks it is. It's just too much. If you know, and speaking of musical scores, out there, I believe is Hans Zimmer's. I guess Hans Zimmer's like greatest hits, like remixed. Get that. Love Hans Zimmer. I want Hans Zimmer, if he's still alive, to play at my funeral. I want Hans Zimmer to be the soundtrack to my life. He's done the scores from Crimson Tide, Gladiator, Interstellar, Inception. I mean, all your best favorite scores, he's probably done them. Check that out, Hans Zimmer. He's the best. But yeah, but Jack used to have a case where the score is just overused and drowns out the actual kind of drama. Although Natalie Portman does deliver an Oscar nomination worthy performance. Okay. And then movies I'm looking forward to seeing, hopefully over the weekend: The Founder, Split, and Manchester by the Sea. Okay, so look at some of these call sheets, people. All right, a little slow week it looks like. I'm not sure if people are hung up on the inauguration or whatever, but we have some more usual suspects. Take a look at Jay Devlin. Jay Devlin's call sheet this week looks like, oh, he is heavy on Split. Okay. So he's got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's got a 6-pack of Split with the 2 headliners. And this might be the winning call sheet right now. I mean, he took advantage of some possibly spotty valuations, with Split starting at 12,000, going up to 13,500 for James McAvoy as your headliner. And he pretty much just maxed that out. He got 6 people from Split, which is rumored to be about 20 million in gross this weekend. And after seeing Triple X, I mean, Triple X is going to flop, and it's going to flop hard. There will be no word of mouth from that movie. It is a terrible movie. I'm so ashamed that I even thought that I had a shot. I'm mad at myself. I wish I still lived in LA, where I used to get advanced screenings for some of these films. Then I could have seen it early and known it was going to be terrible. But good job, Devlin. He's totally fading Triple X. He's got a 6-pack of Split. He probably just punting in the limited release range with the Resurrection of Gavin Stone. And because they're cheap. Those are only $5,300 each for those headliners. He squeezed in Patterson for his mandatory platform release at the Stone minimum of 5,000, and that allowed him to get one more headliner in Patriots Day. It's an interesting call sheet. I love the strategy. He's maximizing the potential of Split. Basically, this is your prototypical stars and scrubs lineup, where he filled up on as many stars as he could afford, going with 6 splits, and just filled in the rest. So I like your call sheet, Jay Devlin. I wish you luck, good sir. Okay, who else we got here? The Roan, welcome back. Let's see what his call sheet looks like real quick. Longtime friend of the game, and he did a headliner stack of Triple X, headliner stack of Split, headliner stack of Patterson, headliner stack of the Founder, and and basically just used the rest of his budget with a 2-pack of the Resurrection of Gavin Stone. This is all right. So let's coin a phrase here right now. This is what I'm going to call a Noah's Ark call sheet. He's got 2 of 2. He's got like a male and female in each. He's got 2 Xander Cage, 2 Splits, 2 Pattersons, 2 Founders, and 2 Gavin Stone. He's got a Noah's Ark here. So very interesting. I like your Noah's Ark construction, although I'm not sure it's going to be the winning call sheet, but we'll take a look. We'll see. I think that Xander Cage is going to underperform, and now that we see how bad the movie is and how badly we think it's going to perform, it's probably overvalued at $20,000 and $18,900 each for Vin Diesel and Samuel L. Jackson, respectively, as your headliners. But I like seeing that. We're coining a phrase, your Noah's Ark. Like it. Let's take a look at my call sheet. Not very impressive because I do have exposure to Xander Cage. So my theory behind this was that Xander Cage is going to do something. It's my bad. I have a headliner stack of Split. I have a headliner stack of La La Land. I think the hidden value is going to be La La Land because if we do recall from last weekend, it kind of went bonkers. We'll look at the 4 days. The 4 days for La La Land were just ridiculous. It's on 1,848 screens. It's averaging almost 10,000 a screen, 17.7 million. So let's do the math. I have a calculator here handy, right? If you have 17.7, and you're basically getting 1 point per 500,000 in the limited release category. So that's 17.7 times 2. You're getting 35.4 points for an actor in that movie. And if you go for the headliners, Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling, you're getting almost 50 points. 50 points per headliner. So I'm thinking even if it drops, so it increased by a bunch of screens, and I think it increased to let's see, what was the screen count for this one this week? Yeah, so it only increased by another 20 screens. So it's like the upper end of limited. I don't know, man. If it drops even down to 15 million, on this, for the weekend, for the 3 weekend frame, whatever, or let's be concerned. Let's say it drops down to 12 million. 12 million times 2 is 24 times 1.4, your headliner stack. So you're still looking at 33.6. To me, I'm thinking that's going to be a really cost-effective way to spend your money. So I want to get that headliner stack there for potential 34, 35 points each. Silence expands to almost 1,600 screens, and even though it is a 3-hour movie, which cuts down on the amount of runs a movie can have on a day, which might bite into its potential box office, still I think the curiosity is high for this movie. I'm actually curious about this movie. I'm gonna add that to my list this weekend. Although at nearly 3 hours, it might just be, it might be a one-off for me, the Silence. And then I just kind of had to fill in the blanks. I didn't have much money left, so I kind of punted with 2 L's right there. So I have a 3-pack of Silence. I love La La Land. Wish I could have gotten more of it. It's just too expensive. I have the headliner stack of Split, and then we have Xander Cage. What other call sheets want to take a look at? Let's take a look at Cornel Westside. See what his thinking is this week, and I'm gonna see if we can get him back on the podcast soon. Get his thoughts on stuff as our WBW ding. So this is interesting. The Founder. So it looks like something must have changed, but it looks like his call sheet still went through. We had. It's interesting to see. We might have had an update unexpectedly, but it looks like he's got. He looks like he's missing a platform release, but that's a system error. We'll let it slide. And it looks like he has a little bit of everything. He's got a couple Founder. He's got a headliner from 20th Century Women. That's interesting. Let's see what else. Split. Hidden Figures, Xander Cage. This looks like he's trying to cover all his bases. So we'll see how that performs for Cornel Westside, who has been steadily improving. We appreciate it. And the last one we'll take a look at this week will be Gamble 24/7, who just missed the deadline last week. This week it looks like he's on top of it. It looks like he's got the headliner stack from Split, Headliner stack from La La Land. Oh, 2 more from Split. Very cool. Looks like Lion is still in there. That's interesting. Didn't know we still had that in our database. He's got the headliner from Lion, the Founder, Silence headliners, and then also Adam, it looks like he's got a back-to-back of Adam Driver. Adam Driver in Silence as a headliner, and Adam Driver as a headliner in Patterson for his obligatory release type pick. So good job to everyone who played. Appreciate your support. Check your email box and social media through the weekend for updates on how your games and call sheets are doing. Tell your friends, go to cinemadraft.co, that is cinemadraft.co, to sign up for the free beta. You can find us also on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, Google+, all that good stuff. Our corporate blog is at medium.com/@cinemadraft. Also, check out our YouTube channel if you're not watching this, and also subscribe to our podcast. Good luck to everybody this week, and looking forward to seeing who's the winner on Monday.